Right. Well, a huge welcome to this next edition of the Sales Transformation Podcast. And I'm delighted to have on this podcast a young man called Johannes. And Johannes is going to say a few words about himself in a short while. And Jesper Illum, who's actually been on the Sales Transformation Podcast before. So it's great to have Jesper back. But in this podcast in a slightly different capacity to the last time Jesper took part in the Sales Transformation Podcast. As many of you know, the vision that we have here at Consalia is to help make sales the world's most sought after profession. I mean, it's something that sort of runs through our veins. And as part of that vision, we're very keen to get more exposure to the sales profession from people at a young age. And to some extent, we've achieved this through the undergraduate sales degrees that we run, where we take school leavers coming from school into an undergraduate BSc program, which we run as part of an apprenticeship. But in this case, we have Johannes with us, who is some years before leaving his school and thinking about sort of an academic or the degree phase of his life, and has expressed a real interest in sales at, I think, an early stage. And Johannes comes to the Sales Transformation Podcast as certainly the youngest ever person that's taken part in what we're doing here. So Johannes, welcome. And Johannes, I wonder if you can just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your background and who you are, and then we'll come into more specific questions about what provoked your interest in sales. But if you could just do a short introduction.
Sure. My name is Johannes. I am 15 years old. I'm in the 8th grade. And I live a bit north of Copenhagen.
In North Copenhagen. So Johannes is not only taking part in possibly his first podcast, I don't know, I assume it is your first, Johannes, but he's also doing it in not his native language, English, though I know English is one of your favorite subjects at school. So this is good practice for you. Yeah. Johannes, thank you very much. And Jesper, I wonder if you could just say a few words by means of introduction as well.
Absolutely. And thanks for having me back, Phil, to the podcast. Pleasure seeing you again. So I've been working in sales since 2004, originally as a sales rep, and then moved upwards into being an MD of an insurance company. I've headed up sales at SAP, and lately I've been country manager at IFS. And I've been loved working with sales. I probably didn't really understood what I was doing, but something was right. And then when I joined your Master of Science program, then I actually figured out, okay, there is some theory behind what I actually was doing. So I was much more able to adjust my course, having that foundation under me. So, happy to be here with you guys, and also with Johannes. So.
Yeah, well, thank you both for taking part. So, Johannes, it's very unusual for anyone at your age to know what they might want to pursue as a career. I know that when I was your age, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I think I probably was in my early 20s before I started to figure it out. But something about sales has obviously sparked an interest for you at this young age. So I wonder if you can share with us what sparked your interest in pursuing sales as a potential career.
Great question. I was with my dad at his work one day, and I saw what he was doing. I thought it looked very interesting. So I asked him, what did he do? He told me he was in sales. And yeah, that's where it started. That's where I fell in love with it.
Okay. And before you went to join your dad for that one day, did you have any idea what he did, or was it just, he left home in the morning, went out, he came back at night?
I just thought he was doing something for fun.
Okay, that's fantastic. Okay, so your father obviously has been an influence and
Yeah.
it sort of caught your interest in sales. What then took you to wanting to do work experience in sales? Because I think this is how the connection is with Jesper. How did that connection happen, Johannes? What did you do?
Oh, well, I had a school project where I had a week where I had to go into something like work. And then I asked my father if I could go into something where he was doing. And that's where we then met Jesper.
Okay, so there, I imagine there might be a connection between your father and Jesper in that sense. So
Yeah.
your father then contacted Jesper, and okay, over to you now, Jesper. You had this conversation. Tell me about what went through your mind when you were asked if Johannes could come and do work experience.
Yeah, so I've known Johannes, both parents, for many years. We've been colleagues at SAP and then lately at IFS. And then I asked a little bit, what is Johannes' interest in sales? And I started to understand that he really want to pursue this. And then I wondered, does he actually know what it means to go into sales? So I asked his parents, can we go full flesh? And they said, yeah, that's okay. So basically, I built up a program. He was mirroring a managing director of a software company. So basically, he was following me the entire week, but a bit more than following, because he also had to execute on hunting for net new customers, etc. So and then I built that program, but it actually became even more crazy than I set out. The first one I sent to him and his parents. So Johannes was sitting on the Tuesday and said, "It doesn't match what we're doing," and said, "No, because I want to challenge you even more." So I had a lot of fun with it. But I also, when I can feel that people can carry it, then I like to stretch their brains a little bit and test out, in a safe environment, how far can you go with people and bring the positive mindset out.
Yeah, there's so many things I could extrapolate from that, but I mean, there potentially was a danger in the kind of program that you had, that it could make Johannes less confident about sales, given some of the challenges that you faced. But you gave Johannes to work on, sorry. But you also talked about in a safe environment. So could you give some ideas about the kind of tasks that you had asked Johannes to do in that week?
Yes, so he knew it was sort of building up to end of week that he had to prepare a cold calling pitch and record a video that could be sent out to a prospect. So that was the end goal. So basically it was about research and understanding how a sales week, what's the rhythm of the sales week and how do you build it up to that. So it constituted of prospecting, it constituted of meetings with customers and partners like Accenture, where you had to introduce himself in English. And so he got the full flavor and into forecasting. Of course, he couldn't do forecasting because he didn't have any pipeline. So we need to build that before we can forecast. But he was following me and, when we had the forecast with the AEs. So basically all disciplines in sale in 1 week.
Wow. Johannes, can I ask you what went through your mind when you were presented with this as a kind of program over a week?
Yeah. Well, at the start, I was shocked. It was a very packed week. I did a lot of things. But by the middle of the week, I loved it. Loved every single second of it. Great experience. Met lots of fun people and great people. And had a wonderful time.
Right. It could have gone terribly wrong. But was there any moment where you thought this was perhaps the wrong thing to have done?
No, not really. I
Not
really
really.
loved it. It was a really, really good week for me.
That's very good. That's very good. Yes, but can I just come back to you again with another question, because you talked about partners and introducing Johannes to different people. Had you preempted those discussions at all with the people that Johannes was meeting, or did you do it just in the meetings that you're having, saying you've got Johannes with you, or how did that work?
Yeah, it was in the meetings. I didn't give a heads up, but I knew, and that it would be warmly welcomed. But I also gave them the opportunity to say, no, Johannes can't join. But that didn't happen. Because, I mean, I just said I have a very young professional intern for a week that wants to, really really want to understand the business of what we're doing. And then he was welcome into the meeting. So there was no risk in it because I said, you can just say no. So pretty easy. Yeah.
And Johannes, did any of these sort of customers or partners that Jesper introduced you to, did they ask you any direct questions at all in it, or were you playing a sort of passive,
I
slightly
was
passive
just
behind the
passive,
scenes role?
shadowing on the side, just
Okay.
little sitting in the corner, just listening everything I could.
Yeah, because I think that actually sort of having someone like you there also shows a message to Jesper's clients that Jesper is interested in developing people and recognizing their potential, which I think is a great thing, because I think all of us, want to develop the youth of today in order to be the future leaders of tomorrow. So I'm sure that the clients and the partners, Jesper, saw it in a positive light as well.
Yeah. As at SAP, I was sponsoring the global graduate program in the Nordics. So I had like 10 to 15 people under my wings at any given time. I actually took them into customer meetings, specifically difficult customer meetings, and I placed questions that they could ask. So when the things got really tough, I asked the graduate in forehand, say, could you take us back to why we have this meeting, when the customer was pushing back? So it sort of diffused the meeting. And I knew it would be exactly the same with Johannes. Nobody got angry about having a 15-year-old boy into a meeting. So so it was in a controlled environment, as I said, basically. But one thing I loved was one day Johannes' mother told me when they drove home from office, and she said, he told me they were singing and dancing in the office, the sales guys. It's just that's how we are. We need to blow some steam in between. Do you remember that one, Johannes?
Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm.
So could you tell me more about that? What was the occasion, or was it just spontaneous? Or
It was a spontaneous thing happening in the kitchen. I heard songs coming from the kitchen, and I walked out there, and they were just dancing.
they were just dancing?
Yeah.
Sounds like you got a great office environment there, Jesper. I can't say that we've done any dancing at our office yet, but maybe we should.
Yeah, you can sell on TikTok if you dance the sales pitch. So
Of course, yeah. Fantastic. So over the week, Johannes, how did you feel? What were some of the things that you learned?
I learned that communication was very, very important. I learned that you have to work as a team together to accomplish things.
Yeah.
And then I learned that you use tools like AI to make it easier.
Right. And is there anything you learned about yourself that you didn't know before?
Yeah. I'm not really that confident around strangers. That's something I definitely need to work on. I was a bit quiet.
Well, I think at your age, I was incredibly nervous. So the fact that you were sort of in the thick of things, I think, yes, it's a natural thing to have as well. I mean, it's certainly sort of not in your comfort zone, but it's interesting what you say about new people as well. Yeah. So you need to work on that. Yeah. But the fact you're doing the podcast and the fact you've gone through it is a pretty good indication you're sort of building up your confidence in being put in slightly unusual situations, so to speak.
But it was a crazy evolution over the week, because the Monday you were very quiet. On the Thursday, I had a town hall meeting for all employees. I asked you to stand up and introduce yourself in English, and you did. So I mean, that takes a lot of guts to do that. So
it really does.
Mm.
Were you nervous when you did that, Johannes, or did the singing in the kitchen help diffuse all those relationships?
Little nervous, little bit nervous.
Yeah. How long did you present for?
Oh God, 30 seconds, 40 seconds.
Okay, not too long, but it
No.
was still in front of a group of what shall I say, probably fairly flamboyant, outwardly speaking salespeople as well at that meeting. That's amazing. So yes, but you saw a big evolution in Johannes over the week.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah,
I did. And it was also, yeah, it was also to sort of show him the direction into sales. So,
yeah,
understanding the full process and coming out of
right.
it and seeing you still have the appetite. And I mean, the discussions we had over the week, Johannes, it showed me that the more you understood what we were doing, the more you actually wanted it. So that was, I love that, because you can also see people who has a dream but don't understand what's behind
Yeah,
the
yeah,
dream. But now you can really understand the dream. So I had a lot of fun, but I also I learned a lot about myself when developing other people,
yeah,
because I need to question myself, and Johannes questioned me, why do you do this, Jesper? I've been doing that for 20 years. So I need to think about why I do it and maybe do something differently. So I was evolving together with Johannes, and I love
yeah,
that. Mm.
yeah. Yeah, we hear that on some of our undergraduates who are 18, so they're 3 years older than you, Johannes, but they're still quite young. Yeah, sort of working in teams of salespeople where the average age could be 50, quite, and it's quite interesting because you hear the practices of the 50-year-olds being challenged by the younger perspective, and they often question, and a basic question like, why do you do it like that, makes them think. And I know that there's benefits obviously for the younger people learning from people like Jesper who are very experienced, but there's also this benefit of seeing the world through the eyes of someone fresh and with a very much an open mind as well. So, um, from your work experience, Johannes, what are the what do you think are the critical skills needed, for people to be successful in sales?
You need to be confident. You need to be able to people be able to trust you, uh, and you need to be able to communicate and have a strong team to work with,
Yeah,
and be able to listen to the customer.
yeah. I know part of what Jesper mentioned earlier was about sort of forecasting and looking at the data side of things as well. Jesper, I mean, did you sort of cover that topic with Johannes? Because I'm just thinking of Johannes has got skills in mathematics, and I guess I'd be interested to hear what you shared with Johannes about forecasting and so on.
Well, it was, to be honest, Phil, I've done it completely different than the industry for many years. Coming back to SAP, I said to them, you're not going to get a spreadsheet guy. You will have a sales leader who loves to, develop their sales team.
Right,
Yes, I will do forecasting, but I'll do it because my team involves me. Because when they need to play ball, then I understand the
right,
opportunity. So I do it from an opportunity development position. Of course, you need to look at data, but I didn't focus on that together with Johannes, because for me, if you start by learning that,
yeah, yeah.
then you're off to the wrong track. You need to understand the people, the cases, and then you can start looking at
And then
data.
start looking. No, I
Yeah,
know there's so much. It's a big
mhm.
topic, as we know. It's a
It
big
is.
topic. Yeah,
It
but
is. And can you calculate mathematically, where you'll end in 7 months? No.
yeah,
You can
yeah,
have a good view on it and data can support you.
yeah,
But we talked about in the prep that AI will do a difference, but it's still the personal touch on top that
yeah, yeah,
makes the difference in sales. And I still believe that is true tomorrow.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, I agree. Okay, so Johannes, you went on the work experience week, and tell me what your thoughts are now about sales as a career. Has the experience put you off sales, or do you think you're really going to go for it?
I do believe I'm still going to go for it. It's a very exciting route to go down sales, but it's also a bit challenging. But I think personally that it's a very great route, and I
Right.
personally want to go down it.
Yeah. So when you talk to your classmates about what you've done and what you've experienced, what's been the reaction with your friends about what you've been up to. Have you shared with them the detail of this
Yeah.
challenging week you've had?
Well, they're very supportive. They thought it was very great. They're all doing different things, but they're very supportive.
Oh, great. Well, I hope you can become a young ambassador for sales and spread the word amongst your colleagues. I'm sure you will be during the course of your time. One of the things that we talked when we prepared for this session was about some of the negative stereotypes that exist out there. People, often think, do you really want to go into sales? I mean, could you tell me if you've experienced that kind of reaction in any way?
I've only experienced it maybe once or twice. That's just people that get the wrong input of what sales is
Yeah,
and just follow stereotypes.
yeah, yeah. And what is it that do you think that perhaps gives sales a bad reputation?
Well, many people take it as people who just call you and try to sell you something like you don't need, maybe just use this thing.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
And
So
they're very
sort of
pushy.
pushy, sort of fairly pushy, fairly manipulative
Yeah.
kind of techniques that they use to try and get you to buy something, which you see all the time, actually, whether you're in a shop or, we all experience being sold to by people who are good and people who are not so good. But my experience is there's a lot of people associate selling with certain types of salesmanship or salespersons who tend to follow that kind of sales approach, and they brand all sales like that. But as you've recognized from what your father is doing and what Jesper is doing, it's a much more professional kind of process. And I think you also mentioned the last time we spoke about it, sort of solving problems, for customers and clients. What do you think are some of the most important traits then? I think that people need to have to be great in sales from your experience.
Well, you need to be confident.
You said confident earlier, yeah.
And then you need to have integrity, and you need to be able to get the customer to trust you.
Yeah. And what do you think builds trust?
It's talking with people, meeting them,
Yeah,
and then being honest.
and being honest with them. Yeah, very good. I don't know if so it looks like you're going to pursue a career in sales. You've got a few more years to go yet at school. Have you got any other thoughts about how you might prepare yourself for a career in sales?
There is a line on a different school after I finished the 9th grade where there is a business line I could take where I could learn about business sales.
So you'll go into a business line, degree. Now, very good. And it may be at some future occasion, Johannes, you'll be able to join us on one of our master's programs in sales leadership. You'll have to give us a call when you think you might be ready for that. Jesper, any comments, any further comments you'd like to make about Johannes and what he's doing and what he's done? And
Yeah, I have a lot of comments, but I'll try to keep it short. So I mean, I love the fact, and that's also why I reached out to you, Phil, to discuss having this podcast.
Yeah.
I wrote to you, I have a crazy idea, and you wrote back to me, it's not really crazy, because I wanted to sort of have other people see the potential path into sales. I mean, working in sales for plus 20 years, we all stumble into it. At SAP, I had a former priest, a geology student, and all sorts of backgrounds. But what if we can get people to actually get an education, which you're a strong advocate for in sales? I had to go by marketing, and marketing is so much different than sales. So I wish I had somebody who could show me the direction early on. So I think that's one learning I had, and I love that. The second thing is a personal thing that Johannes has helped me with,
Yeah.
because I'm actually taking a change in my career now,
Yeah.
shifting into becoming a chief consultant in a small firm that helps educate and train people in sales. So once you've done your strategy, then take it and transform it into sales. How do you do the cold calling? How do you follow up? How do you challenge the customers? So I've developed myself also based on that week. Yes.
Yeah. I think your comments are so kind of so, you know, so resonate very much with me. I thought I wanted to go into marketing at a very young age. So I was in banking first, and then went into pursue a career in marketing, and so I thought. But actually, when I got into this consultancy, it's a Swedish consultancy called Mercury.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've heard of Mercury. I believe they have offices also in Denmark. But
They do, yeah.
they have two. They had a training division and they had a recruitment division. And I joined Mercury at a very young age. I was 22, 23. Normally they took people on who are a bit older than that, sort of in their early 30s. And realized that actually it was sales that they wanted me for, even though I didn't see myself in that role. And I sort of fell into it completely by accident. And it was, in that sense, it was sort of an unstructured introduction to sales. The advantage, Johannes, that you've got is if you know that that's where your sort of end destination is going to be in a sales career, you've got all sorts of avenues where you can keep abreast of what's happening in sales. And we've got podcast channels like the one we're running, but there are many other, sources of information that can guide and inspire you in that. But yeah, I mean, it's an amazing profession to be in. It's been around for very many years, but it doesn't have the same status, perhaps, unless you go to America. It doesn't have the same status as perhaps other professions do, like medicine or perhaps engineering. But if you don't sell anything, no business will function. So arguably, it's the most important function of any business. And so that's why I think it's so great that you sort of embraced it at your age. Yeah. Jesper, I'm very excited about the new direction you're going in as well. It's been an extraordinary journey for you. I didn't think we'd be talking about this on the podcast because it's quite a new thing.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, my motivation for many years has been to make other people successful.
Yeah.
And and one of the epiphanies I got from the master's program was, you need to train people. I mean, my daughter plays badminton at the highest level. They don't go and get enabled in badminton. They practice and train it every day with a coach and trainer.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe I can go out and inspire and help even more people than I do today with just my own team.
Yeah.
So so that was actually time to try that, and the response from the network has been absolutely amazing. I mean, I just started talking about it, and I have already 3 or 4 customer meetings booked. I haven't even started yet, but it's in the calendar. So that's pretty cool.
That's fantastic. That's brilliant. Okay, well, I think we're getting towards the end of the podcast now, but Jesper, thank you so much for reaching out. I was delighted, actually, when you suggested the idea, because it's a topic that's really close to my heart. And Johannes, I have to thank you for taking part in the podcast and sharing. And it's kind of motivated me to see if we can reach out to other younger people, such as you, to catch them at a younger, at a younger age, really. So this podcast will also help communicate that message. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil. Pleasure being again with you.
Yeah.